My sort of sense is that we should just do the sadhana again. Is that all right with you guys? Just we do the practice one more time? Because we just have 40 minutes.
Yeah.
And then we can just keep working at it. It's kind of what you do in retreats. You just keep doing it. So, but what I'd like, maybe after lunch we'll do this. But what I'd like you to think about, we're going to sit for a couple minutes, or maybe 5 minutes, doing the posture and breathing thing. Oh, here's the Tom again. Tom. And so I think we'll do it more extensively after lunch, but it's just really, because the thing about this, we'll just go through it more quickly and spend more time doing mantra recitation. So when you're doing the mantra recitation, that's when you, send the lights out and heal sentient beings. So you can think about specific things that you're interested in changing, or healing, or people that need it, or different things that need to happen. Because, Tara's not necessarily, she's not really known as the healing one. She's the one that kind of manifests our realizations, mostly. We were praying for all the Lamrim realizations, but also the conditions that we need to do that. I talked about that a bit last night, about how just in my own personal life, praying to Tara has allowed me to do lots of retreats, and I really believe it's the blessings. I mean, certainly I must have had some karma. But, whenever I've needed to raise money or needed, I just would sit down and do the 4 mandalas to Tara and play really hard, and always feel like Tara and my teachers, like they're the same, one and the same. Because they are. I mean, they really have a very close connection, both of them, with Tara. So it's very easy for me to feel like Tara is Lama, But just so I think if you're really clear about what it is you want, that you need to, benefit others, with a sincere motivation, Tara really helps to manifest that. So just in the beginning, in the motivation time, you might want to just think about in your own life, your own personal, besides, of course, we want all the Lamrim realizations, but what will help you to get there, whether it's something material that you need, like money to go to a retreat, or if it's like a psychological obstacle that's happening in your mind, like you have something that's kind of blocking you, whether it's laziness or some kind of emotional trauma you've been through or something, so it doesn't just have to be stuff, it can be, because we always in Tantra we always talk about outer, inner, secret. So the outer conditions are the physical conditions. Like you need a house and a job and and then the inner conditions are more like the emotional, psychological conditions that you need. So we need, a balanced mind, a balanced emotional mind. And so, that takes a lot of work for most of us to get there, But doing these practices, the way I feel about Tantra and Buddhism is that if we have emotional stuff, which we all do, it's really good to either study psychology or learn some psychology or go to a therapist. But I feel, this is just my thing, that if you do that in conjunction with Dharma practice, it's going to be much more effective. Because I know people who've done therapy for years and they're just as messed up as they ever were, But just my own personal experiences, doing all my nundros and stuff, I just kind of worked on it myself. I never went to a therapist, but I, read psychology books and learned about what is a healthy mind, because we are very good at, what was Angsari saying yesterday about twisting the Dharma to hide our delusions. We're very, very good at that. You know, we're very, very good at thinking we're practicing Dharma when we're just still beating up on ourselves and calling it being renounced. You know, oh, you know, I think I'll be renounced. Well, I'll just, you know, deprive myself of everything, you know. Or we think that, oh, I'm practicing bodhicitta. We go around trying to control everybody and become this great codependent, you know, person that's always helping everybody to our own detriment, you know. I mean, right? Yeah. So we're always doing that. So it's really important to discern, you know, what is real Dharma practice from just our own twisted upbringing, you know. Because we just kind of bring all this delusion, you know, we go, oh, Dharma, and we just kind of like, a lot of times people also, they just keep the Dharma up here, you know, and they learn all the intellectual stuff, right? But their hearts are still just as messed up as ever, you know. So somehow, you know, you have to bring the intellectual understanding into a very personal transformation. And only you can do that, you know. So that's really the work, you know. The work isn't going to classes and memorizing the 12s of those and the 8s of those and Abhisamaya Lankara, and we learn all this, you know, all this wonderful stuff. You know, I mean, I'm not putting that down. It's really necessary. But the real transformation comes when you bring that into your own personal experience. And so to do that, you have to work with your junk, you know. Otherwise you just, you know, you see it all the time in Dharma centers, you know, unfortunately. I mean, people are really sincere, but, you know, unless we have the skills, unless you have some kind of, you know, past karma or intuition or, you know, you need help with that. So I think it's really important to do some kind of work that way, you know. And so that's more the inner conditions for you know, when we work on the inner offering, you know, we're transforming ignorance, hatred, greed, pride, and jealousy into the, you know, essence of the 5 Dhyana Buddhas, and we're working with our earth, water, fire, air, you know, in its unbalanced state and trying to make it balanced. And so it's not just the psychology, but the inner is also the body. You know, the balancing the elements is talking about your physical body. So, you know, it's really good to, we can do a little bit of that. We'll do one, after lunch we'll do that. The one we do the organ meditation, where we did the different colors in the organs, we'll do that. That's a really nice one for working on that. And so I just feel like, this is just me, you know, but I just feel like Tibetan Buddhism is great, but just by itself might not be enough, because we aren't Tibetans, and we have a lot of cultural adjustments to make the Dharma real for us. I mean, that's just been my experience. It might not be somebody else's, and I'm sure there's some really wonderful Western geshes and teachers that never did any of that, and they're just great, you know. But just for me personally, I had to do that kind of work, you know. I mean, I didn't come from like a really messed up family, but it was just normal, you know. Just a normal messed up family. Yeah. You know, my parents were together. I didn't go through divorce or any of that, but still, I had issues, you know. Because it's, I mean, the most important thing the Dalai Lama is always telling us is that we need an open heart. You know, so you can't have an open heart without feeling all your pain. You know, the Trungpa Rinpoche talks about, and they always say, you know, the bodhisattvas are always crying. You know, bodhisattvas have broken hearts, because you can't really feel compassion for anyone until you've felt your own pain. So that's something that this will help with. You know, because what happens when you do these Tara practices, and it seems so simple, you know, the white, red, blue, you know, these things, but there's something, we were talking about last night with Machik and the Nunes. There's something about these lineages that are so powerful, and it's almost like there's like from a Jungian standpoint, you know, there's a collective unconscious. They talk about the collective unconscious. And it's sort of like there's a collective storehouse somehow. I mean, I really don't know what the science of it is, but it just seems like when we tap into those lineages, you know, there's definitely power there that empowers us to make the changes that we need. And if you believe that and you open yourself up to it, you can get incredible blessings when you do these practices. And you'll just see your life and especially if you stay open and start listening, you know, then you can begin to pick up on the serendipity in your life, and if you can allow yourself to be a little bit more experiential and not like, oh, I have to, you know, this way with my life, but if you can be, you know, just, oh, maybe I should check into that, you know, like pay attention to the little voice that's in your mind, you know. Because that little voice can often be the voice of the guru. You know, we're so like scheduled, like, oh, I have to do, you know. I mean, even with Dharma practice, you get that way. You know, like, oh, I have to do so many sessions and say so many mantras and blah, blah, blah. You know, you can get just as pedantic about Dharma as you can about anything else. So I think and that's why I like just doing that sitting practice, because, and it's more emphasized in the Kagyu tradition, but they have that, what I said this morning about kind of the four aspects of when you sit, you know, just part of your mind is just with the technique, right? But learning to relax is really important. And making friends with yourself is really important. And just beginning to get this sense of being open to all possibilities. Because that's where, like, the magic comes, is if we can learn to be a little more open to things, you know. So I think it's real important to have in your daily practice at least 10 minutes, 15 minutes, best even a half an hour, you don't have that, of just sitting, you know. Or you can do it when you recite mantras too. But it's just to develop those capacities in your mind stream, because it's sort of like, you know, you use your mind all the time, but we never just like work on mind alone, you know. And it's important to just become familiar with mind without anything else going on in it. And discover what it means to feel comfortable with yourself, you know. And when it's not uncomfortable, what are you going to do about it, you know? Well, that's when the green Tara practice comes in, because then you can, you know, visualize the nectars and rays pouring in and purifying you. And just like, you know, Anne was here last night talking about her Vajrasattva practice. It really works, you know, and you won't see it right away. You have to do it for a while, and sometimes you may never make the connection between your Tara practice and the change in your life, because Lama Yeshe used to use the word organic. It's a very organically transformational process. But if you can take one practice and stick with it, whichever one it is, and they all kind of are the same in a way, you know, they all have this purifying, and it's all about purifying and accumulating, basically. That's Dharma, is about purifying your obstacles and accumulating the causes and conditions to become enlightened. But what's also very important is to make a request. This is why I started talking. I wasn't going to talk. I can't help it. Sorry. To make a request, because it's like if you have a boat, right, and you have the boat itself and it's moving along, and you've got all the, you know, the oars and everything, and but you have to have that someone steering it. You know, you can make merit, and you can purify, but you really have to direct where you want it to go. So it's important, that's why I said, why I started all this, is when you start these practices, is to really think about your life and where do you want it to go? Where do you want this merit to come? Because merit will come, you know, and you can end up, you know, just making a bunch of money and it's finished. You know, you didn't do anything with your Dharma, you know, with the merit. You just like lost it because you spent it on a holiday to, you know, Lanzarote or something, you know. And I mean, I'm not saying you can't do that. You can go on a holiday because you can do, but you know what I mean? It's like you really, what I'm trying to say is you want to direct your own person. I mean, everybody's Dharma practice is very, very unique to yourself. And so it's really, this is why this plain, simple sitting is important, because then you get to know yourself a bit better and trust yourself and work with your own mind and kind of feel out where you want to be in 5 years from now or 10 years from now, or, you know. And definitely at the death time, you want to be ready to die. I mean, Lama Zopa is pushing this now. He's really emphasizing. In fact, he's written a book. There's a new book. Rabina's put out another book. It looks like a Bible. Have you seen it? It's got gold, and it's really made like a Bible. And because Rinpoche is saying everyone needs a death plan, because you're definitely going to die. And we have learned in Buddhism, and it doesn't take much to get the faith that there's another life. And that it's definitely going to be based on your past karma. And so that journey is the most important journey of this life, because it's the journey to the next life. And if you want to get enlightened, you're not going to get enlightened in one lifetime. I mean, you might, but... So you want to make sure that you're preparing for the next round, And that's why, I'm not doing Lam Rim this weekend, because, but I could, but there's only a certain amount of time. But that's why meditating on death and impermanence every day is so important, because without really getting in your mind, and I have to do it all the time, because our imprints are so that way. But if you don't really realize I'm going to die, then you're not going to prepare for it. And what a miss! Because I think possibly the most important thing about having a perfect human rebirth is the fact that you can create another one. Right? Because if we just, I have a nice perfect human rebirth, and use it up, and don't put part of our provisions into planning to go on that journey when the death time comes, then it's really a waste of, it's too bad, Because, you've had the teaching, how rare it is to get a perfect human rebirth. It's so rare. So you don't want to just, lose it. So think about the death time, and if you have a practice that does, like what Tim was asking about, can you do the death meditation? If you can, do it every day, at least. And, it's hard for me to remember. I get tired when I go to sleep. Like last night, I just crashed, But when you go to sleep at night, it's really important to pretend like you're dying, And if you can't do all these elaborate highest yoga tantra practices, which are very difficult for us to do, at least go to sleep and with Tonglen in your heart and thinking about bodhicitta, if you can, every night, and dedicate your merits, because then the imprint will be there when you're dying. It's so important. And I have to emphasize it to myself, because I forget. The day goes by, and it's time to go to bed, and you just go to bed. I usually do some prayers and stuff, but even then, sometimes I'll say my prayers, but I won't remember to do especially if you've studied the 5 forces, the 5 forces at the time of death. But the main emphasis of that is regret your negativities, and just dedicate your life to sentient beings, and just feel yourself, just feel that bodhicitta motivation as you go to sleep at night. It makes the sleep beneficial, but it also prepares you for dying. So that's really important. All right, well, we'll just do this quickly then, and just do a little bit of this with the Tara motivation. But let's do sit and get clear in your mind. We're going to do an exercise after lunch to work on that. So. Above the crown of my head, I visualize a lotus and a moon disk. Upon these is the great treasury of compassion, Aryatara, mother of all enlightened beings, who is one with my kind root guru. Aryatara is female in aspect, green in color, and seated in the dancing posture within a rainbow aura. Her left leg is crossed inward, and her right leg is outstretched. Her left hand is at her heart in the mudra symbolizing the triple gem, and holds the stem of a blue upali flower. Her right hand, extended over her right knee, is in the mudra of granting sublime realizations. She is beautifully adorned with jewel ornaments and heavenly scarves. At her heart is a lotus and a moon seat, upon which stands a radiant green syllable tam. Rays of green light radiate in all directions from the tam, and invoke all the enlightened beings of the 10 directions. They all absorb into Aryatara and become one. And we pray to Tara to please remain above my head until I attain enlightenment. Then taking refuge. I go for refuge until I'm enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly. By the practice of giving and other perfections, may I become a Buddha to be able to benefit all sentient beings. I go for refuge until I'm enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly. Practice of giving and other perfections, may I become a Buddha to be able to benefit all sentient beings. I go for refuge until I'm enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly. By the practice of giving and other perfections, may I become a Buddha to be able to benefit all sentient beings. And then meditate on the meaning of that. The 7-limb prayer. With my body, speech, and mind, I humble myself to you. I offer all wondrous things, both real and imagined. All mistakes and offenses amassed from beginningless time I regret. I rejoice in all virtuous actions of holy and ordinary beings. Gurus and Buddhas, please remain until samsara ends, and turn the wheel of Dharma for all sentient beings. Everyone's and my virtues I dedicate to enlightenment. I didn't hear very many people doing this with me last time. Give it a try. The ground is blessed with scent and with flowers strewn, adorned with Mount Meru, the four lands, sun and moon, transformed as a pure land, and offered. May all wandering beings enjoy this Buddha land. All those objects of my mind's 3 poisons, coveted, friend, foe, and stranger, body, wealth, worldly pleasure, without a feeling of loss, I I surrender. Receive them, please, and free all beings from their bondage. Please bless my mind and the mind of all sentient beings to be free from all the wrong views, from incorrect Guru devotion up to the subtle dual view. Please bless my mind and the mind of all sentient beings to receive the entire stages of the path, from Guru devotion up to the unified state of Vajradharahood. And please bless my mind and the mind of all sentient beings to be free from all obstacles and hindrances along the path. Idam Guru Ratna Mandalakam Niryatayami. So then, visualizing Tara and above us. You can make Tara as big as you want, life size or bigger, smaller. And she's in the nature of light, green light, like an emerald. Beautiful crystal body, shining rainbow light, And just think that she's looking at you with great love and compassion, just wishing everything the best for you. And try to imagine feeling that, like we're actually in the presence. Like remember what it's like to be in the presence of His Holiness or Kadrula or Rinpoche or Dagri Rinpoche. Just imagine of that. Remember what that's like, that brilliant kind of blessing feeling. And then from the white light, from the Om at Aryatara's brow, white light and nectar enters my brow, completely purifying my body, and my body becomes one with Tara's holy body. And then red light and nectar emanates from the Ah at Aryatara's throat and enters my throat. And my speech is completely purified and becomes one with Aryatara's holy speech. And then blue light and nectar emanates from the Hum at Aryatara's heart and enters my heart. And my mind is purified completely and becomes one in essence with Tara's holy mind. And then blue light and nectar emanates from the, All three colors of light and nectar emanate from Om Ahung at Aryatara's three chakras and completely purifies all my delusions and subtle obscurations to omniscience, and my body, speech, and mind become one in essence with Aryatara's Vajra body, speech, Vajra body, Vajra speech, and Vajra mind. And then Venerable Aryatara melts into the seed syllable Tam and the nature of all the Buddha's qualities in the form of green light. Very tiny green light like the size of mustard seed. And again we feel, allow ourselves to feel, great love and affection from Tara. As she comes to is in the essence of Tara, comes to the crown of our heads and dissolves through the crown, the throat, and settles in the middle of the heart, where instantly mundane conceptions that I and all phenomena are self-existent, together with my dualistic mind and its views, disappear, becoming completely, and not even a trace remains. I feel that my mind is indistinguishably one with Aryatara's omniscient mind. Just imagine. That's all. It all starts in imagination. And out of that emptiness, my wisdom manifests instantly as Aryatara, seated on a lotus and a moon cushion. At her, at her heart is another lotus and moon, upon which in the center stands the syllable Tam, surrounded in a clockwise direction by the syllables of the mantra. Om Chari Chari Turi Sawa. So as we recite the mantra, the green wisdom light radiates from all the letters out in all directions and touches the hearts of all sentient beings and purifies all mistaken karmas, gross delusions, sickness, spirit harm, and subtle obscurations to omniscience, and bringing them all the conditions they need for enlightenment. So you do the mantra recitation in steps. So first you do that, and then after you do that for a little while, you imagine that they all become Tara. And again, the light goes out, bringing manifold offerings to the six transcendental senses of all the Buddhas and sentient beings who become Tara. So then they are all very pleased with you, and then a shower of blessings rains down upon us, bestowing the superlative qualities of Aryatara's holy body, speech, and mind. Omniscient wisdom, infinite compassion, supreme power in the form of blissful rays of nectar. We'll just start the mantra. Om Tari Tu Tari Turi So, Om Tari Tu Tari Turi So. And, you know, find a pace of the mantra. It doesn't have to be too fast, just what feels right for you. Om Charitu Chariture Soha. So then I dissolve from the top down and the bottom up into the Tara at my heart. And she dissolves into the lotus, the mantra, and the seed syllable, and the moon. And the lotus dissolves into the moon into the mantra, and then the Tam gradually dissolves into emptiness. I experience the true nature of reality. And then instantly I rise as Tara to the works for sentient beings, or else instantly I recognize Tara's in my heart, empowering me to do the work for sentient beings. And we rejoice how wonderful it is that we're able to create the cause for enlightenment and create the cause for the conditions to ripen for enlightenment. Through relying on the mother of all the Buddhas, Arya Tara. By this merit may I become Mother Tara and lead each and every being to that state. May the precious Bodhi mind, not arisen, rise and grow, and what has arisen not decline, but remain forevermore. I especially dedicate to the long lives of our precious teachers, and for Jamyang leads to create all the causes and conditions to find a really nice place that will meet their needs, and that this center continues to grow and more people can benefit. With all the right volunteers, and for the SPC and director to have all their conditions, and for there to be lots of harmony here in this center. And throughout the world, for there to be harmony. And for all the Dharma centers to flourish and grow. And for create the causes for no more wars and terrible corporate greed and aggression that causes the wars. And sealing with emptiness, myself, the dedication and the merit, all arising in dependence upon each other. Just always remembering that nothing exists from its own side. Everything is a dependent arising. And because it is a dependent arising, it cannot exist from its own side. Everything arises upon parts, causes and conditions, and the mind that labels it such. Remove the labels, it's not the same thing. So recognizing that it's never the problem out there. It's always the projector, not the movie, but it's the projector, that the I, the me, it's my projection. You know, it doesn't mean that things aren't relatively existing, that people aren't harming, that people aren't doing things, but it's our spin on it that makes us suffer. So may we learn to let go of that and be able to be perfect Lojong practitioners and transform every single experience into the path to enlightenment. And make the most of this perfect human rebirth. And all of them until enlightenment. Okay. Lunchtime.